Earth's last broadcast. You have locked in your destiny. Part 1. The silence before the storm. The message came without warning on a cold Tuesday morning. Samuel Okonkwo was drinking his coffee in the Global Broadcast Authority building when every screen in the room turned red. He had worked in communications for 30 years. He had seen wars, disasters, and political chaos. But he had never seen anything like this. The alien face that appeared on screen was not human. It had gray skin stretched over a skull too long and too narrow. Its eyes were black pools with no white in them. When it spoke, the voice was calm and cold, like a machine reading a death sentence. Species designation: human. You have 72 hours to surrender all military forces. You will dismantle your weapons. You will accept integration into the consortium of aligned species as a client race. Failure to comply will result in complete extinction. This message will not repeat. The screen went dark. Then the chaos began. Samuel watched his staff run to their stations. Phones rang everywhere. People shouted. Someone was crying. He stood very still and finished his coffee, because he did not know what else to do. Humanity had met aliens 150 years ago. First contact had been peaceful. Trade agreements followed. Humans spread to 12 star systems, building colonies and stations and mining operations. They thought they were joining a community of intelligent species. They were wrong. The consortium was not a community. It was an empire that pretended to be a friendship. 200 species followed its rules because the alternative was death. And now, for reasons humans did not understand, the consortium had decided that humanity was a threat. Samuel's phone rang. It was the president of the Terran Union. "Okonkwo," the president said. Her voice was tired. "I need you at the emergency council." 1 hour. What are our options? Samuel asked. The president was quiet for a long moment. "I don't know if we have any." 40,000 consortium ships were already moving toward Earth. Human forces had perhaps 3,000 vessels, most of them old and slow. The math was simple. The math was hopeless. Far above Earth, aboard the flagship HFY Defiance, Admiral Yuki Tanaka received the same message. She was 62 years old, small and thin, with gray hair cut short and eyes that had seen too many battles. Her crew watched her face as she listened to the alien ultimatum. They looked for fear. They found none. "Run the simulations," she ordered. Her tactical officer, a young man named Chun, worked at his station for 10 minutes. When he finished, his face was pale. "Admiral, I've run every scenario. Different formations, different strategies, surprise attacks, defensive positions. We lose every time. Best case, we hold them for 6 hours. Worst case, 90 minutes. Tanaka nodded slowly. "And the colonies? If we split our forces to protect them, we lose in 40 minutes. If we abandon them, we buy more time." But Chun stopped. He did not need to finish. The colonies would burn either way. Tanaka walked to the window of her bridge and looked down at Earth. Blue and green and white, spinning slowly in the darkness. 8 billion people. Her daughter lived in Tokyo with her husband and 2 children. Her mother was in a nursing home in Osaka. Everyone she had ever loved was on that small bright ball. "Send a message to all human vessels," she said quietly. "Tell them to come to Earth. Every ship that can fly. Military, civilian, cargo, mining, everything." Chun stared at her. "Admiral, we can't win." "Even with every ship." "I know. Then why?" Tanaka turned to look at him. Her eyes were calm and sad. "Because when they write the history of our species, I wanted to say that we stood. That we did not run. That we did not beg." She paused. "Can you give me that, Lieutenant?" Chun swallowed hard. Then he nodded. Yes, Admiral. I can give you that. On Earth, Samuel Okonkwo sat in the emergency council chamber and listened to people argue. Some wanted to surrender. Some wanted to fight. Some wanted to evacuate as many people as possible to the outer colonies. Some just wanted to pray. The president raised her hand for silence. We need to decide what to say to our people. 8 billion humans are waiting to hear from us. 12 colonies are waiting. What do we tell them? A general spoke up. We tell them to prepare for war. We have no chance of winning, said a diplomat. Then we tell them to prepare to die with dignity, the general replied. Samuel listened to them argue for another hour. Then he spoke for the first time. May I say something? The room went quiet. Samuel was not a soldier or a politician. He was just the man who ran the broadcast system. But everyone knew that the beacon, the massive transmission array on Earth, was the most powerful communication device ever built. Whatever humanity said next, Samuel would be the one to send it into the stars. If this is the end, Samuel said slowly, then we need to think about what comes after. The president frowned. There's no after. They're going to kill us all. They're going to kill everyone on Earth and in the colonies. Samuel agreed. But we have the beacon. We can send a signal that will travel for thousands of light years. It will reach places where no ship has ever gone. It will travel for millions of years. He paused. If humanity dies, our voice doesn't have to die with us. The room was silent. What exactly are you proposing? The president asked. Samuel took a deep breath. I'm proposing that we use whatever time we have left to create a message. Not a surrender. Not a plea for help. A record. Our history. Our art. Our music. Our science. Everything we ever were. And at the end, something that tells whoever hears it, alien or human, or something we can't imagine, who we were and how we died. A monument, the diplomat said softly. A monument made of radio waves. Yes, Samuel nodded. A monument that can never be destroyed. That will outlast the consortium. That will outlast the stars themselves. The president looked at him for a long moment. Then she looked at Admiral Tanaka's face on the screen, transmitted from orbit. Admiral, how long can you hold them? Tanaka's expression did not change. How long do you need? 12 hours, Samuel said. Maybe more. The Admiral smiled, but there was no happiness in it. I'll give you what I can, Mr. Okonkwo. You make sure our voice reaches the edge of the universe. I will, Samuel promised. He did not know yet what that voice would say, but he knew it would not say surrender. It would not say defeat. It would say something that the consortium would never forget. Earth's Lost Broadcast. You have locked in your destiny. Part 5. You have locked in your destiny. Consortium troops broke through the doors of the beacon facility at exactly 1447 Earth Standard Time. Samuel Okonkwo did not run. Neither did his team. They stood in the broadcast center, surrounded by humming machines, and watched the soldiers pour in. The aliens were tall and gray, with armor that looked like black glass. Their weapons hummed with energy. An officer stepped forward. It spoke through a translator device that made its voice sound almost human. You will cease transmission immediately. Samuel smiled. It was not a frightened smile. It was the smile of a man who had already won. The transmission ended 3 minutes ago. Everything we wanted to say is already traveling at the speed of light. You can't catch it. You can't stop it. You can only listen. The officer tilted its head, confused. Then it raised its weapon and fired. Samuel Okonkwo died instantly. He did not feel pain. His last thought was of his wife, waiting for him somewhere beyond the stars. Elena Vasquez died next, then Aisha, then the engineers who had kept the beacon running. They died quickly and without mercy. The consortium did not understand why they were smiling dot above Earth. Overmind Vexer received the report. The beacon was silenced. The human leadership was dead. The planet was secured. Victory. And yet, something troubled Vexer. It ordered its analysts to study the human broadcast, to understand what they had transmitted in their final hours. The analysts worked for 3 days. When they finished, Vexer called a meeting of the Consortium High Council. The humans sent a message, Vexer reported. Not a surrender, not a plea, a statement. What kind of statement? Asked a council member. A record of their entire species. History, art, science, philosophy, every language, every achievement, every failure. Vexer paused. And at the end, a warning. A warning? They were in no position to threaten us. It was not a threat to us. Vexer's voice was strange, uncertain. It was a promise to everyone else. The council listened as Vexer played the final section of the broadcast. Samuel Okonkwo's voice filled the chamber, calm and clear. You have locked in your destiny. Because now, everywhere this signal reaches, every species that hears our voice will know what you are. They will know what you did. And they will know that one small species, outnumbered and outgunned, stood against you and refused to kneel. Silence in the council chamber. The signal is traveling outward at light speed, Vexer continued. It has already left our monitored space. It will reach regions we have never explored. It will continue traveling for millions of years. We cannot stop it. We cannot catch it. We can only wait. A council member spoke slowly. They are saying that we will be judged by beings who do not yet exist, by civilizations that have not yet risen. Yes, that is absurd. Those beings may never exist. The signal may travel forever without being heard. Perhaps, Vexer's voice was quiet. But perhaps not. And now every species in our consortium will wonder. They will hear this broadcast. We cannot stop them, and they will wonder if the humans were right. If someone someday will hear their cry and come. The council was silent for a long time. Earth was conquered. The colonies were destroyed. Humanity was scattered small groups of survivors, hiding in the outer reaches of space, too few to matter. The consortium had won completely, but the signal kept traveling. 100 years passed. The consortium grew. New species were conquered. New worlds were claimed. But whispers spread through the empire. Stories of a species called humans who had refused to kneel. Stories of a broadcast traveling through the void, carrying a message of defiance. Some species began to listen for it. Secretly, in hidden stations, they tuned their receivers to the frequencies the humans had used. They heard music they did not understand. They saw images of strange small beings with soft skin and bright eyes. They read words in languages they could not speak. And they heard the ending, the promise, the warning. Someone will hear this. Someone will remember. Someone will rise. 1,000 years passed. The consortium faced its first major rebellion. A coalition of 30 species rose against their masters, fighting for freedom. They lost, but they hurt the consortium badly. In their final transmission, they quoted the human broadcast. You have locked in your destiny. 5,000 years passed. The consortium fractured into rival factions. Wars burned across the galaxy. Trillions died. But in the darkness, the signal kept traveling. It reached new stars, new worlds, places the consortium had never seen. 10,000 years after humanity fell, a young alien named Keth sat in her dwelling on a world called Vera 7. Her people had never met the consortium. But Martin, her people had never met the consortium. They had never traveled beyond their own star system. They were young and curious and full of dreams. Keth was a student of signals. She spent her nights listening to the universe, searching for patterns in the static. Most nights, she heard nothing, but tonight was different. Tonight, she heard a voice. It was faint, old, damaged by thousands of years of travel through the void. But it was real, a voice speaking in a language she did not know, music she had never heard, images of beings she had never seen. She worked for months to translate the message. When she finished, she sat alone in the dark and cried. "We were human," the voice said. "We loved. We failed. We tried again." She listened to the ending 3 times. 4 times. 5. Someone will hear this. Someone will remember. Someone will rise. Kef looked up at the stars. She thought about the beings who had sent this message 10,000 years ago. They were dead now. Their world was gone. Their species was scattered and forgotten. But their voice had reached her. Across the impossible distance of space and time, they had spoken to her. They had told her their story. They had asked her to remember and they had promised that someone would rise. Kef smiled. She knew what she had to do. She began writing her own message. A response to the humans, even though they would never hear it. A promise that their sacrifice had not been forgotten. "We heard you," she wrote. "We remember, and we will rise." She looked at the stars again. The consortium was out there somewhere, powerful and cruel and old, but so was the human signal, still traveling, still speaking, still defiant. The humans had lost everything, but they had won something too, something that could not be measured or destroyed. They had won forever. In the void between galaxies, where no light reached and no life existed, the signal traveled on. It would travel until the stars themselves died, until the universe grew cold and dark, until the end of everything. And somewhere, always, someone would hear it. Someone would remember. Someone would rise. This was humanity's gift to the future. Not victory, not survival. Something better. A voice that could never be silenced. A story that could never be forgotten. A destiny that was locked in forever. Earth's last broadcast. You have locked in your destiny. Part 2. The archive and the anthem. Samuel Okonkwo had 48 hours to save humanity's soul. He did not sleep. He did not eat. He gathered his team in the broadcast center beneath the beacon and told them what needed to be done. "We are going to create the most important message in human history," he said. "It will contain everything we are, everything we were, and it will travel further than any human voice has ever gone." His team was small. 12 people. Engineers, artists, historians, translators. They looked tired and scared and determined. Samuel loved them for that. Dr. Elena Vasquez was the first to speak. She was a xenolinguist, a woman who had spent her life studying alien languages. She had gray streaks in her black hair and glasses that she was always losing. "The consortium expects us to beg," she said. "Every species they've conquered has done the same thing. They plead for mercy. They offer to serve. They cry and scream, and then they die." She pushed her glasses up her nose. "What if we don't do any of that?" "What do you mean?" asked one of the engineers. "I mean, we surprise them. We confuse them. We send something they've never heard before." Elena's eyes were bright. "Not a surrender. Not a threat. A statement. A declaration of who we are that makes them question everything they think they know about us." Samuel nodded slowly. "I like that. But what do we include? We only have so much time." The discussion lasted for hours. They argued about what mattered most. Some wanted to focus on human achievements, the art, the music, the science. Others wanted to include the dark parts too, the wars, the genocides, the mistakes. In the end, they agreed to include everything. "We don't get to edit ourselves into heroes," Samuel said. "We show them the truth. All of it. Let them decide what we were. They divided into teams. One group gathered music from every culture on Earth, ancient songs and modern symphonies, tribal drums and electronic beats, lullabies and war chants. Another group collected images paintings from cave walls and digital masterpieces, photographs of ordinary people and historical moments, children laughing and soldiers dying. A third group wrote the text. They worked in every human language, creating a message that explained who humanity was and why they mattered. They included scientific formulas and poetry, legal documents, and love letters, religious texts and philosophical arguments. Samuel worked on the ending. It was the hardest part. What do you say when you know you're about to die? What words can capture the spirit of 8 billion people? His assistant, a young woman named Asha, brought him coffee at 3 in the morning. She was 24 years old, born in Lagos, educated in London, brilliant in ways that made Samuel feel old and slow. She had tears in her eyes, but her hands were steady. "Mr. Okonkwo," she said quietly, "what do we want them to remember?" "Them? Whoever hears this. The aliens. The future. Anyone who finds our signal 1,000,000 years from now." She sat down beside him. What should they know about us? Samuel thought about that for a long time. He thought about his childhood in Nigeria, playing football in the dust. He thought about his wife, dead now for 5 years. He thought about his grandchildren, asleep in their beds, not knowing that the world was ending. "We want them to know that we tried," he said finally. "That we made mistakes, but we learned. That we hurt each other, but we also loved each other. That we were small and scared and alone in the universe, but we kept reaching for the stars anyway." Asha nodded. "That's good. Write that down." He did, while Samuel worked on the message. Admiral Tanaka prepared for war. Ships were arriving from all over the solar system. Most of them were not military vessels. Cargo ships with makeshift weapons. Mining vessels with drills that could cut through rock or alien hulls. Passenger transports whose captains had evacuated their civilians and volunteered to fight. Pleasure yachts owned by rich men and women who had decided that their money meant nothing if humanity died. Tanaka watched them gather in orbit around Earth. 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 ships. Every day, more arrived. Every day, the consortium fleet moved closer. She called a meeting of all ship captains. Their faces appeared on screens throughout the Defiance's bridge, young and old, military and civilian, scared and brave. "I will not lie to you," she said. "We cannot win this battle. The consortium has 40,000 ships. We have 6,000. Their technology is better. Their weapons are stronger. Their shields are thicker." She paused. "But we are not fighting to win. We are fighting to buy time." A civilian captain spoke up. He was an old man with a white beard and kind eyes. His ship was a cargo hauler named Lucky Strike. "Time for what, Admiral?" "Time for Earth to speak. The beacon is preparing a broadcast that will travel further than any signal ever sent. It will carry humanity's voice into the void, past the edge of known space, into regions the consortium has never reached." Tanaka's voice was steady. "Every minute we hold them back is another minute that signal travels. Every hour we survive is another light year our voice reaches." "And when the battle is over?" the old captain asked. "Then we will be dead. And our signal will still be traveling. For thousands of years. For millions." Tanaka smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "We will lose the battle, but we will win something else. Something the consortium can never take from us." The captains were quiet. Then, one by one, they nodded. "Tell us where to stand, Admiral," the old captain said. "We'll hold the line." Tanaka felt tears in her eyes, but she did not let them fall. "Form up in defensive pattern around Earth. Protect the beacon. Protect the signal. Protect humanity's voice. The ships moved into position. A wall of metal and courage between Earth and the coming storm dot back on the surface. Samuel Okonkwo worked through the night. The broadcast was taking shape. Music and images and words woven together into something beautiful and terrible. A story of humanity, told by humanity, for anyone who would listen. At dawn, Elena Vasquez found him staring at his screen, exhausted but still working. "It's almost done," he said. "But I don't have an ending yet. I don't know how to say goodbye." Elena sat down beside him. "Maybe you're not saying goodbye. Maybe you're saying hello." "What do you mean?" "This signal will travel for millions of years. It will reach places we can't imagine. Beings we can't imagine." She smiled. "When they hear it, for them, it won't be an ending. It will be a beginning. A first contact that happens long after we're gone." Samuel stared at her. Then he started to write. The words came easier now. Not a farewell, an introduction, not a death cry, a birth announcement. Humanity, speaking into the darkness, saying, "We were here, we mattered, and you should know our name." 12 hours until the battle began. 12 hours to finish the most important broadcast in history. Samuel kept writing. Earth's last broadcast. You have locked in your destiny. Part 4. The message. Samuel Okonkwo stood in the heart of the beacon and listened to the universe burn. The battle above had fallen quiet. Not because it was over, but because there were so few human ships left. The new consortium commander, a creature called Overmind Vexer, had taken control and resumed the attack. It was slower now, more careful. Theson's death had taught them caution, but caution changed nothing. Earth would fall. Everyone knew it. Samuel had 2 hours of broadcast time remaining. The beacon was working at full power, pushing energy through systems that were never designed for this. Engineers ran from station to station, replacing burned components, cooling overheated circuits. The building shook with each pulse of the transmitter. "How far has the signal reached?" Samuel asked. Elena checked her console. 14 light hours and counting. "It's already past Pluto, past the edge of our solar system." She paused. "In 1 more hour, it will be further than any human ship has ever traveled." Samuel nodded. 14 light hours. The signal would reach the nearest star in 4 years, the nearest consortium world in 20, and it would keep going. For centuries, for millennia, forever, or as close to forever as anything could be. He looked at the message on his screen. It was almost complete. History, art, science, philosophy, humanity compressed into radio waves. But the ending was still not right. He had written a dozen versions. None of them captured what he wanted to say. Aisha appeared at his side. Her face was pale and tired, but her eyes were bright. "The team has finished compiling everything. Music, images, texts, languages. It's all in the transmission now." "Good." Samuel rubbed his eyes. "Now I just need to finish this? The ending?" "Yes." He gestured at his screen. "I've tried everything. Defiance, hope, anger, sadness. Nothing feels right. I should read his latest draft." She was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "You're trying to say goodbye. That's why it doesn't work." "What do you mean?" "This isn't a funeral speech, Mr. Okonkwo. It's a birth announcement." She smiled slightly. "You told me that yourself. We're introducing humanity to beings who will never meet us. We're telling them who we are, not who we were." Samuel stared at her. Then he deleted his draft and started again. The words came faster now. Not sorrow, not fear. Something else. Something that tasted like freedom. Above Earth, the last human ships fought and died. The consortium fleet pushed closer. Transports began descending toward the surface. carrying troops that would occupy the planet and silence the beacon dot in the broadcast center. Alarms started ringing. Enemy ships entering atmosphere, an engineer reported. They'll reach us in 90 minutes. Keep transmitting, Samuel ordered. Every second counts. He wrote faster. The ending took shape under his fingers. Words that he had been searching for his whole life without knowing it. Elena watched him work. Tears ran down her face, but she did not wipe them away. She understood what he was creating. A monument. A defiance. A promise. At last, Samuel stopped typing. He read his words once, twice, 3 times. Then he stood up and walked to the main broadcast console. I need to record this myself, he said. It has to be a human voice. Not text, not a computer. A person. Elena nodded. We'll patch you through. The signal will carry your voice across the galaxy. Samuel took a deep breath. He thought about his wife, who had died believing in him. He thought about his grandchildren, who were hiding in a shelter somewhere, scared and confused. He thought about Admiral Tanaka, who had given her life for this moment. He thought about humanity. All the good and all the bad. All the beauty and all the horror. 8 billion people who had loved and fought and dreamed and failed and tried again. Ready when you are, Elena said. Samuel pressed the transmit button. His voice joined the signal, racing outward at the speed of light. To whoever hears this, he began. His voice was calm and clear. Whether you are our children scattered among the stars, or species we never imagined, or the very ones who silence us today know this. He paused. The words felt right. Finally. You cannot kill an idea. You cannot bury a song. You cannot erase a species that has already spoken its truth into the eternal dark. The beacon hummed around him. The signal pulsed outward. He kept speaking. We were human. We loved. We failed. We tried again. We reached for the stars, not because we were worthy, but because we refused to believe the universe was empty of meaning. Outside, the sky was filling with enemy ships. He could hear explosions in the distance. The building shook. To the consortium, you have won this battle. You have taken our world. But in doing so, you have locked in your destiny. His voice grew stronger. This was the heart of it. The truth he had been searching for. Because now, everywhere this signal reaches, every species that hears our voice will know what you are. They will know what you did. And they will know that one small species, outnumbered and outgunned, stood against you and refused to kneel. A show was crying openly now. Elena had her hand over her mouth. The engineers had stopped working to listen. We have seeded the galaxy with our defiance. In 1,000 years, in 10,000, someone will hear this. Someone will remember. Someone will rise. The building shook again. Closer now. The lights flickered. Samuel's voice did not waver. You have not ended humanity. You have made us immortal. He took one last breath. This is Earth's last broadcast. You have locked in your destiny. He released the button. The message was complete. Elena checked her console. The signal is still transmitting. Full power. Everything is going out. How long until they reach us? 30 minutes. Maybe less. Samuel nodded. He walked to the window and looked up at the sky. Enemy ships were visible now, black shapes against the clouds. They were beautiful in a terrible way. We did it, Asha said softly. Didn't we? We did something, Samuel replied. Whether it matters, that's not for us to decide. That's for whoever hears us 1,000 years from now. The beacon kept transmitting. The signal kept traveling. And somewhere in the vast darkness between stars, humanity's voice moved outward, unstoppable and eternal. Samuel closed his eyes and waited for the end. Earth's last broadcast. You have locked in your destiny. Part 3. The stand at Sol. The consortium fleet entered the solar system like a cloud of locusts. 40,000 ships, black against the stars, moving with perfect formation. They expected nothing. They had conquered 200 species. Humanity would be 201. Admiral Tanaka watched them come. She stood on the bridge of the Defiance, her hands clasped behind her back, her face calm. Around her, officers worked at their stations, running final checks on weapons and shields. Nobody spoke. The human fleet waited in Earth's orbit. 6,000 ships arranged in a wall. From a distance, they looked impressive. Up close, the truth was painful. Half of them were civilian vessels with weapons attached by desperate engineers. Many had shields that would fail after 1 or 2 hits. Some had no shields at all, but every ship had a crew. Every crew had chosen to be here. That was worth something. Tanaka opened a channel to all vessels. Her voice was steady and clear. This is Admiral Tanaka. The enemy will arrive in 30 minutes. I want to tell you something before we begin. She paused. On 6,000 ships, men and women stopped what they were doing to listen. I have been a soldier for 40 years. I have fought in 3 wars. I have won battles and lost battles. But I have never been prouder than I am today, standing beside all of you. Her voice cracked slightly. We are not fighting for victory today. We cannot win against these numbers. But we can buy time. Every minute we hold is another minute the beacon transmits. Every second we survive is another second humanity's voice travels into the darkness. She took a deep breath. Some of you will die in the first wave. Some of you will die in the last. But none of you will die for nothing. 1,000 years from now, 1,000,000 years from now, when beings we cannot imagine hear humanity's voice echoing across the stars, they will know that we stood. They will know that we fought. They will know that we refused to kneel. A moment of silence. Then the old captain of the Lucky Strike spoke up. Admiral, if this is our end, it's been an honor. Voices echoed across the channel. An honor, an honor, an honor. Tanaka smiled. The honor is mine. Now let's make them work for every inch. The consortium fleet approached. Their commander, a being called Overmind Thyssen, studied the human formation with interest. Thyssen had conquered 12 species personally. It had seen courage and cowardice, genius and foolishness. But it had never seen this. The humans were not running. They were not surrendering. They were not even trying to negotiate. They were standing in formation around their home world, waiting to die. Curious, Thyssen thought. Curious and stupid. Open fire, it ordered. The first wave hit the human fleet like a hammer. Consortium weapons were designed to crack planets. They tore through human ships like paper. In the first minute, 300 vessels exploded. In the second minute, 200 more. But the humans did not break. They held their positions. And they started fighting back. Maria Santos was the captain of the cargo ship Santa Maria. She was 50 years old, short and round with arms like tree trunks from decades of loading cargo. When the consortium attacked, she was supposed to hang back. Her ship had no weapons worth mentioning. Her shields were thin. She was supposed to wait and support the real warships. Maria watched the Defiance take fire. She watched Admiral Tanaka's ship shake and burn. And she made a decision. Full speed ahead, she told her crew. Aim for that big bastard in the center. Her first officer, a young man named Paulo, stared at her. Captain, that's their flagship. I know what we can't do, Maria said. But I also know that my cargo hold is full of mining explosives. And I know that big ship has a hangar bay with an open door. She smiled. It was not a nice smile. Do you want to live forever, Paulo? Paulo was quiet for a moment. Then he laughed. No, Captain. I don't think I do. The Santa Maria accelerated toward the consortium flagship. Enemy fire hit them again and again. Shields failed. Hull plates melted. The engine screamed with strain. But Maria kept pushing forward. She reached the hangar bay. The explosion lit up the void like a small sun. The consortium flagship shuddered. Systems failed across 12 decks. Overmind Thiessen felt something it had not felt in centuries. Surprise. One small cargo ship had hurt its flagship. One human woman had done what no species had managed in 1,000 years. Destroy them all, Thiessen ordered. Its voice was colder now. Angry, the battle continued. Human ships fell by the hundreds. The Defiance lost one engine, then another. Fire spread through its lower decks. Admiral Tanaka ordered non-essential crew to evacuate, but most of them refused. "We stay with you, Admiral," her tactical officer Chun said. "To the end." Tanaka nodded. She did not trust herself to speak. On Earth, Samuel Okonkwo watched the battle through cameras mounted on the beacon. Each explosion was a ship. Each ship was hundreds of people. He tried not to count. He failed. "How much more time do we need?" Elena asked. 4 hours, Samuel said. "The broadcast is almost ready, but we need 4 more hours to transmit everything." Elena looked at the screen. The human fleet was shrinking. At this rate, they would be destroyed in 2 hours. "We won't get 4 hours, she said quietly. "Then we send what we have." Samuel's voice was hard. "We keep transmitting until the last second. Even if they destroy the beacon with us inside it, the signal will already be gone. They can't catch it. They can't stop it." He turned back to his work. The ending was almost finished. The words that would close humanity's final message to the universe. Above Earth, the battle reached its peak. Human ships surrounded consortium vessels and detonated their reactors rather than be captured. Pilots rammed their fighters into enemy engines. Crews overloaded power systems to create explosions that took out enemy shields. The consortium advance slowed. Not stopped. It could not be stopped, but slowed. Overmind Thiessen watched with growing unease. This was not how conquered species behaved. This was not how prey acted. Admiral Tanaka received a report. The beacon had begun transmitting. Humanity's voice was now traveling into the void at the speed of light. Every second she held the line, that voice traveled 300,000 kilometers further. She smiled. Her ship was dying. Her fleet was dying. But they were winning the war that mattered. "All ships," she broadcast. "The message is transmitting. Everything we do now matters. Every second counts. Make them pay for every meter." The human fleet roared its response. Ships that should have been dead kept fighting. Crews that should have surrendered kept firing. The consortium ground forward inch by inch, paying in blood for every step. 3 hours into the battle, the human fleet was reduced to 2,000 ships. The Defiance had no engines left. It drifted in space, guns still firing, shields flickering. Tanaka looked at the consortium command ship. It was damaged, but still fighting, still commanding the enemy fleet. If it fell, the attack would pause. Maybe for minutes, maybe for an hour, long enough. "Set a collision course," she ordered. Chun looked at her. His face was burned. His uniform was torn, but his eyes were clear. "Understood, Admiral." The Defiance had no engines, but it had maneuvering thrusters, and it had momentum. Slowly, the dying flagship turned. Slowly, it began to drift toward the enemy. Overmind Thiessen saw what was coming. "Destroy that ship now." But the human fleet saw it too. 100 vessels moved to cover the Defiance, shielding it with their own bodies. They died one by one, but they bought the flagship precious seconds. Tanaka opened a channel to Earth, to Samuel Okonkwo. To everyone who was listening, the Defiance is making its final run, she said. Her voice was calm, almost peaceful. Tell them we made them work for it. Then she closed the channel and watched the enemy ship grow larger. The impact shook the void. The Defiance and the Consortium command ship vanished in nuclear fire. A bright light that faded slowly, leaving only debris and memory. The Consortium fleet paused. Their commander was dead. Their flagship was destroyed. And on Earth, the beacon kept transmitting humanity's voice, traveling into the endless night.